Hello and welcome to round 2 of the TC America powered by Skip Barber Racing School Championship here in Northern California at Sonoma Raceway. My name is Ryan Marine. Joe Jordan filling in ably for our ailing Calvin Fish, who will be back with us dealing with a minor medical issue at the moment. Back with us at Circuit of the Americas in our next round of the championship. And we've got Amanda Busick down on the pit lane. We'll be hearing from her in a little while. As I mentioned, it is round 2 of the season. Round 1, Joe, was yesterday. We saw the debut of the TCX class. We saw a great duel to the finish on a late race restart in the TC class. And a lot of fresh talent mixing it up with some veterans in TCA. It really had a lot to recommend it.
Yeah, it does. You know, TC never disappoints. It's 40 minutes of action, 40 minutes of door banging, if you will. So looking forward to seeing this race go today.
Yes, as you said, it was, as you said at the top of the show yesterday, contact is part of TC racing, and we definitely saw that on display. We'll be taking a look here at this Sonoma Raceway circuit for just over 4 kilometers, around 2.5 miles on this configuration of Sonoma Raceway. Joe, you've raced here. Tell us about this track.
Well, it's, you know, very climbing, very hilly and blind driving corners. The most passing is going to go on in turn 7 and turn 11, which are the 2 hairpins. I also think that people get excited and try to make something happen into the chicane, but normally we see contact when they try to go for passes there. So those are the 3 biggest places to watch for passing.
Lots of challenge to this circuit, but everyone seems to love coming here. The other thing to keep in mind, tire degradation. That will be a story throughout the course of this race. It's an abrasive surface, keeping the tires under you, especially in the front-wheel drive cars. That's going to be a crucial aspect to today's race. We do have an onboard camera, Joey Jordan, in the FTG Racing Cork Sport Mazda 3, running in the TC class. Joey's been sawing at the wheel all weekend, just looking for the grip around this place, and it'll be a fun ride, to say the least. Couple of developing stories here for race 2 of the weekend. Starting in the TC class, Jeff Rica was slated to start second based on having the second fastest race lap in the race yesterday. We saw him have an issue, though, in that race. Unfortunately, that car will not be able to take the green. Yeah,
it's a tough break for Jeff. It's a brand new car, and he's developing that platform. But, man, showed some great speed. Really happy about his speed, but he's not going to be able to start the race. His teammate, however, will be starting.
That's right. We saw Michael Sousa really impress, I believe, in the sister Gin Racer car, but he will start back in the 16th spot overall, back in the 5th row, I believe, of the TC category. So he's got some work ahead of him to get the kind of result he's looking for. He does get the advantage, though, of having Victor Gonzalez not start this race, too. So that's an extra position for Michael at the start of this race. We saw Gonzalez have issues in the midpoint of the race, and we thought maybe contact caused some steering damage. But as we found out later, he actually was dealing with something from the very start of the race.
Yeah, he didn't think that the contact had any influence on it whatsoever. He did have a failure that caused the run into the wall. Unfortunately, the car wasn't repairable this weekend.
However, the other VGMC car will be in this race with youngster Jose Blanco, the vice champion, runner-up in F4 US last year. He starts on pole in the TCA class. It was trial by fire for Jose in a lot of respects. New to racing with fenders, definitely new to a front-wheel drive car, and he learned some lessons in race 1.
Yeah, he did. He showed the incredible speed that he has, but he ran the tires off the car. One thing to think about, too, in touring cars, you get 2 sets of tires per weekend. So people use different strategies. Some guys went with new tires in qualifying and new tires in the first race. So they'll have to go with scrubs in the second race. So that all comes into play, and Jose's learning how to deal with not running off the tires of that front-wheel drive car.
And he'll have veteran Mark Pombo starting alongside in second in TCA. Mark did not have a great start to the race yesterday, rebounded to finish second, and has much better starting position. He hopes to retain it when the green flag flies. Final note here is we do have a change in the number 24 Tech Sport entry, which was run by Sammy Smith yesterday, one of the TRD development drivers. He has been replaced by Joe Federal. here for this race. Joe raced in the TC class yesterday, shifts back to the Toyota in the TCA class, and it's his first time ever in this car. He starts shotgun on the field effectively in the final 33rd starting position, and he'll be learning on the fly.
Yeah, never having driven one of these cars, it's going to be a learning curve for him. But you know, he won in the TC car at COTA last year, so he's got the speed.
So here is the grid, and up at the front it is the new TCX class. 3 cars entered here at Sonoma. We expect more as the season goes along. These are the BMW M2 Cup cars that are still very, very new, even on the global stage. Yesterday was the first ever race for those cars in North America. A couple of entries from 2 different teams make up the grid here, and they are starting first through third. Eric Powell, yesterday's TC winner, will start on pole in that class here today, but he'll be challenged by Tom Capizzi and Kevin Boehm. Tom in particular, great effort with the fast lap of the race that he set yesterday. Good enough for 4th. He'll actually start even up 1 spot with Jeff Rika not making the start, and he's one that could definitely challenge.
Yeah, Tom showed great speed, and he started kind of far back for him in race 1 yesterday, but you know, ran the 3rd fastest time, and I expect big things from him. He's the fastest BMW.
And dropping back to the TCA field, as mentioned, Jose Blanco on that class pole, Mark Pombo alongside in a Mini. So it's Honda and Mini on the front row. Then you've got the Toyota of Jesse Love, yesterday's winner, another youngster out of the TRD NASCAR development ranks that they're trying to get some seat time on road courses. He'll start in 3rd with Clay Williams, another youngster in one of the Minis to his flank. Caleb Bacon and Carter Fartuck in the 3rd row in TCA, and the rest of the field we saw flash through on the screen. The field has completed the first of 2 formation laps, and it's 2 formation laps this weekend. Crucial time for these drivers to make sure the tires are clean and up to temperature.
Yeah, and interesting to note, I talked to Roy Block's crew chief, Tim, and he let me know that Tim's starting on stickers today, where the other 2 BMWs started on stickers yesterday. So he could have a little bit of a tire advantage leading into the 2nd race. So we'll see if he can take advantage of the better tires.
That will be a story to keep an eye on. Quickly down to pit lane for an update from Amanda.
Hey, Ryan. Well, Joe, you mentioned yesterday that the BMWs competing in TCX are essentially the same, but the changes come in the driver setup. Well, for classic BMW drivers Jacob Rudd and Tommy McCarthy, those are all located in the suspension and shock. Both like an aggressive setup. However, with Tommy McCarthy in his background in dirt racing, he prefers his a little looser. I talked to their engineer. He also laughed that the compartment is set up different. Jacob is about a foot taller than Tommy.
That's really good stuff, Amanda. Thank you for that update, and shows how flexible these cars can be. Yes, it is a bespoke car. You buy it straight from the manufacturer, homologated, so there's not a lot of development. There's no development that you can do effectively, but there still are ways for the team to get involved and tailor the car to the liking of an individual driver.
Yeah, alignments, shock settings, those kind of things can really set the car up to how the driver wants it and how he feels it. And yeah, Tommy McCarthy is definitely a foot shorter than Jacob. And his quarter midget days and the dirt and those kind of things, he has a little bit of a drive through the door style.
It's fun for us. So welcome to the championship, Tommy. Hope to have a lot of fun watching these cars compete throughout the course of the year. We expect some other touring cars with DSG gearboxes to be joining the championship in the future, joining this class in particular. So that will be fun to add that to the mix. And it is a unique SRO America series with its own balance of performance and homologation. And I think it has a lot of promise. Can't wait to see what comes of it. There you see the 3-car TCX field, then about 250 feet back to the TCA cars. They will get the same green flag and then a separate green for the TCA. Sorry, the TC cars second, then the TCA field coming through in the 3rd wave. Front row, Jacob Rudd, Tommy McCarthy coming around, looking for the green flag to start round 2 of the 2021 TC America powered by Skip Barber Series. It flies, and the classic BMW cars sprint away, heading to the hill for the first time. We wait now for the TC class cars, and immediately it's 3 wide. Eric Powell on the attack, contact, and around goes a classic BMW car with some damage. Very aggressive maneuver at the start, and keep in mind the TCA field is still coming. Looks like some damage to the left front of the Auto Technic car. The Hard Motorsports car goes around. Here comes the TCA field. Luckily, at least for now, this part of the track has cleared, and we keep an eye up the road to see what awaits them at the top of this hill. Already a casualty. I think that's Mike Lamara, the LA Honda World car, off to the side of the track. There's the Auto Technic car that appeared to have suspension damage. Somehow, the TCA field is able to get through that, and they keep it clean at least. My goodness, what a wild first minute.
Yeah, it really was. We're going to have to sort through that to see what happened, but definitely Capizzi was involved, and the Hart Motorsports car of Strymer was involved. Wild start,
to say the least. Let's take a peek here at the front, and it is a couple of classic BMW cars in the TCX category. Up front, I believe it's still the pole man, Jacob Rudd, leading McCarthy as they come through the chicane. Here, let's look at the replay. What do you make of this?
Well, it looks like Lindsay. That could be Lindsay. No, that's
Eric Powell, I believe.
Yeah, Eric Powell on the inside of Capizzi, who then knocks into Toby Grahovic, and then it continues up the hill. Capizzi gets involved at the top of the hill, into Strymer. Rob Hines gets in there. Souza's in there. Looks like Austin Smith has nowhere to go, has to go around in the grass.
Joey Jordan able to sneak through at the back of that as well, and safety car is out. I suspect there might be a car or two stranded. Indeed, Mike Lamara in the LA Honda World Honda Civic SI off to the right of the track there. And that's the one I'm the least sure about what happened. He started a little bit further back in the penultimate row, as a matter of fact, in class. And I didn't see a ton of contact there, but he was off the pace even before they got to turn one.
Yeah, it was surprising to see Lamara stopped. I also think we may have some other cars stopped further along in turn 3 and turn 4, but we'll see as they try to get this cleared up. It's, too bad. It's always, kind of fisticuffs in touring car, but we don't like to see that much that early. It's better to see, one-on-one battles than a wild start like that. It looks like Capizzi's off, headed into turn 4 as well.
Well, this onboard shot here gives us a chance to talk about something that is brand new to SRO America. Look at that flashing yellow light on the dash there in Joey Jordan's Mazda 3. This is something new from the Lumarank system. They're the ones that have the lights on the cars that show what position they're running in. This is a new safety device that effectively will show you what the track condition is. Red, green, yellow, checkered, what have you. And that's there, again, for safety reasons. Yes, we have flag stations all around the track, but sometimes an incident can happen while you're in between those stations, and just having that light there to say, yep, full course yellow, now you know, and it's hard to miss that when it's right in front of your eyes. Really, really cool, and I believe it's in every single SRO America class and championship this year, and from what I understand, SRO America is the first series to implement this around the world, so really neat to see the championship embracing this technology, adding another element of safety to the equation.
Yeah, it's a really good system, and it just allows an extra bit of safety because you know right away when there's an issue.
There is a look at Joey in the Mazda 3. It's been a development effort on that car. We'll talk about that perhaps in a moment, but I want to reset the running order here after that chaotic first lap. It was indeed Rudd that led overall after the first lap there, coming to the yellow. McCarthy second, Block third. Kevin Bohm, perhaps the biggest beneficiary. He went from first to third on a late race restart yesterday, and I think that's probably under his skin a bit. Well, he survived the carnage there and jumped up to the lead in TC. Powell managed to get to second despite all of the chaos that he was certainly in the middle of, and Hines able to jump to third, Sousa to fourth. Lindsey Brewer did a good job to avoid much of that. She's up in fifth, and Joey Jordan now in the sixth spot in class, up 5 spots after starting at the back of the TC field.
Yeah, there's definitely taking advantage of some carnage there, and I wonder if there's any damage to Eric Powell's car as you look at him on the inside, getting in contact with Capizzi, then hip checking Grahovic. We're going to look for Lamara now, too. You can see him on the outside there. the white and blue car gets off over the curb, kind of bounding through the grass there. It's really bumpy out there. He may have knocked a line off or something like that.
And you could see the left front wobbling on Tom Capizzi's car. That's a real shame. He was set to start third after Jeff Rica was unable to make the green flag. So had a lot of expectations and hopes for this race, but not meant to be, it would appear. And there's Capizzi's car, and that's one of the reasons for this yellow. Not driving that thing around with the wheel loose like that. That is some major suspension damage.
Yeah, he sent me a note this morning saying how he was disappointed with his qualifying for the first race, but he got it together in the race, had some really good lap times, was very proud to be the fastest BMW, so a little bit of a heartbreak for him.
Dropping back to the TCA field, Jose Blanco from pole continues to lead there. Jesse Love, yesterday's winner, was able to jump up a spot. Caleb Bacon got up into third, so that's up a couple of spots for him. And interesting that Pombo, for the second straight day, the veteran, doesn't get the kind of start he's looking for at the initial green flag.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. I'm not sure if the other cars maybe at the lower speeds up to a little bit more torque or something. I don't know, but a little bit surprising to see Pombo fall back. I did talk to Jesse Love this morning, and he said that the road course that he won on was actually at Miller in Arca. He has run a Legends car on this circuit, but that's the only thing until he came to this. We had a long talk about Momentum cars, and Momentum is driving a lower horsepower car, trying to keep the speed up rather than driving a high horsepower car. And he says it's a real advantage when he goes back into the stock car.
Absolutely. Also wanted to mention, we talked about it at the Open, Jose Blanco used up a lot of his tires, being inexperienced with the front-wheel drive. I have to believe the safety car is going to help him. That's less time that he can put that kind of strain on his tires, and maybe he can get back to his single-seater roots and go full attack.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Jesse Love can kind of put the pressure on him or not. I expect Pombo and Bacon to be there as well. I did talk to some of the drivers about the safety car situation yesterday late in the race, and if the tires came back after the safety period, and it was later in the race and they had a lot of time on the cars, and they all said, no, not really. I was really surprised by that. I expected them to come back right after that yellow flag situation. So there's only been not even a lap, so the tires are still fresh.
Looking at the TCA start, this also had its moments that were fraught with peril, but by and large they got things pretty well sorted out by turn one. Then you have the cars strewn left and right. Hopefully they've got folks on the radio telling them what to expect when they get there. But all credit to these guys for driving straight into the mouth of the beast effectively and coming out on the other side.
Yeah, they were avoiding some new chicanes, if you would, of TC cars littered around turn 1, 2, and 3. So I have no doubt that Pombo probably got caught in that. It looked like he had a clean start, but I'm sure the TC cars littered around turn 3 and 4 held them up.
I think we got an update on what happened with Tom Capizzi. Amanda, what do you know?
Yeah, we're over here by the Auto Technic Racing team, and as we walked up, it's kind of that deer in a headlight. You never want to see TV come in this kind of moment. I did ask the guys here if they happened to talk to their driver. He said they haven't really gone effort by effort of what Tom thought had happened, but just a really upset driver inside that BMW, but this effort moves on to COTA.
And that's what you got to do, change that focus to what's coming next. Difficult for Tom. Not the opening weekend he was looking for. Got to think Toby Grahovic after a good run yesterday. Wind in the sails. You lose a little bit of that here with the incident. And going back to the start, the way I saw it at least, and you tell me what you think, we saw Powell make that aggressive move. That put Capizzi in the middle. And I don't think Grahovic knew it was two to his inside because he came down on his normal line, and if there had been two through there, I think it would have been just fine. It would have been anodyne, but as it turned out, there were two to his inside, and there just wasn't enough room.
Yeah, and I think it was a surprise to Grahovic, and unfortunately he paid the price. It'll be fun to watch him, though, from the back. I imagine I don't think his car is too badly damaged, so I expect him to come flying through the field.
Well, that's true. I might have written him off a bit too soon. He is still circulating, back in the 8th spot in class, 11th overall. A veteran driver of his caliber, still plenty of time with under 30 minutes remaining, 10 minutes off the clock, unfortunately, much of which has been run under the safety car. But it looks like the cleanup is progressing nicely. It might not be too much longer before we get to green, and yeah, I'd say let's keep an eye on Toby Grahovic, because especially if there's a little bit of pent-up frustration, it could be dynamite to watch.
Yeah, I think he will be. I'm trying to see if he's a lap down or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to, yeah, okay, no, he's not. So he's in good shape. Also, I talked to Sally McNulty. She's an interesting story. You know, she's won a smaller team. She does a lot of the work herself with her one crew member. So they drive the car in an open pickup truck and an open trailer. And I talked to her what her goals were, and she said, you know, I got to get better at the starts, and I got to get more consistent over the complete 40 minutes of the race. And that's my goals for today. So it looks like she got a decent start. She's now in 8th. So looking for good things from Sally.
Comes from a time attack background, did some Skip Barber. Went to the Skip Barber School to get her TC America level license. That was prior to the 2019 season, where she ran a partial schedule for her own team, running a Civic in TCA. Missed a couple of rounds, but still finished 11th in the championship. According to, I think it was her website, she loves corgis and sushi.
Yeah, she has 2 corgis that she's very active on social media, so you get to know her corgis very well. She's a service writer at a Ford dealership. She works really hard chasing partners for her Borla-sponsored Honda Civic. And just a really good story. She was here 2 years ago, really developed her skills, and had to take a year off to try to put together the package to come back. And she's back for the season, and I'm really proud of her for doing it and how hard she works at it.
As we get closer, it looks like, to restarting this race, you can see the class splits beginning. Did get word that the start is under investigation. I'm not sure which start it was, but something to keep in mind. There could be more to what we saw. This is interesting. Roy Block positioning his car to the inside there. Everyone back in line of stern formation now. Lamborghini Urus in the pit lane, and here we go. After losing about 12 minutes to the safety car, Jacob Rudd leads the field back to the green flag. Couple of classic BMW M2s up in front with Roy Block in tow. Now back to the TCA field. Kevin Boehm, last year's TCA champion, leading Eric Powell. Rob Hines in the Nissan runs third. Much more sanitary start to this restart than we had at the initial start. Single file certainly helps with that. Kevin Boehm did lead briefly yesterday, but got shuffled back to third in the late running, and is looking to put that behind him with a race win here today. That's Sousa and the Gin Racer Hyundai, the black car, running back in, I think, the 4th spot. And now back to the TCA cars. Yesterday's winner, the 22, Jesse Love, chasing Jose Blanco in the VGMC Viabrews Motorsports. Viabrews Motorsports Civic. Jesse Love on that start, able to get past Bacon up into the 2nd spot, so yesterday's winner is on the charge. On board now with Joey Jordan into 7, followed by 7A. Lets that car drift out wide now. Tucks it back tight to the apex and back to power. Watch his right hand. The H pattern isn't dead yet. A few of these cars out there still sport that. Several of them, though, have the paddle shifter or sequential. But great to see. You still have to know how to shift gears in pro racing. Joey under attack a bit from one of the Auto Technic cars up the inside. Joey leaves room here into the chicane. Clean pass. They race on.
Yeah, that's Austin Smith out of Texas, and that BMW made a really clean pass there going into 9A and 9B. It can get really ugly in that corner. It's like Streimer's looking the inside, and Grahovic can't quite do it. Grahovic's now going to try to get past that Mazda 3 as well.
And Toby Grahovic trying to get that comeback drive started. He has one car behind him. That is Strymer, and Strymer is on the attack. This Hard Motorsports crew fielded Johann Schwartz last year, finished third in the championship. And Steve ran a partial schedule. It's a team out of the Pacific Northwest, then very active in club racing. Saw an opportunity to get involved at the pro level a few years ago with a couple of starts here and there, and full season last year. Great to see them back. Adam Harding's crew.
And Steve Strymer ran a few years ago with us. It's nice that he ran only one race last year. It looks like he's back for this full season with Hard. So it's nice to have Steve back. He's had podium finishes in the past. And, he's right there running with Grahovic.
Both of those BMWs trying to find a way past that Mazda 3. We talked about it some yesterday, mentioned it a moment ago. This is very much a development project still from the Cork Sport and FTG folks. As here we go, looking up the inside is Grahovic, but can't get the job done. Last year, there were a lot of reliability issues, to be quite frank, with that program. But the good part was, it didn't seem like they ever broke the same thing twice. So something would go wrong, they'd fix it, and then they'd find the next thing that needed to improve. And a lot of work gone in over the winter to improve that program, and it just keeps getting stronger. And I understand that they put in a no-lift shift just before the race yesterday, having not run it at all so far this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a testing program almost for them. They're trying everything they can to make that car go. And I will say that I think they run more laps this weekend than they did all of last year.
Yep.
So they made some progress with that car.
Definitely. It's definitely getting there, and it's great to see the buy-in from all these different manufacturers in this TC class, which for so many years was dominated by this BMW. First the M235, then the successor to that, the M240. But now you see Honda in the mix, you see Hyundai in the mix, you see Mazda in the mix, and could be more.
Yeah, the Honda and TC really came on last year late. They ran them early, and some other teams started to pick them up, and now it's a very stout package with the Skip Barber guys and Bohm moving up the champion of TCA. He's really done well with it. So Honda's got a really strong presence in TC this year.
There is a little bodywork damage, as we anticipated, on the car of Powell on the right side, I think. Or was it the left side? Nope, the right side. There it is. From that contact at the very start. And I don't know if that's affecting him to some degree. He's part of the Skip Barber Racing School team. Skip Barber, not just a sponsor of TC America, but heavily involved. They've been involved in SRO America as the official racing school for some time. Last year, they were the pace car provider, and they provided pace car drivers.
And the pace car driver from last year is actually one of the TCA competitors this year.
That's right.
He's in a TCA Honda. But my bet on Powell's car is that contact may have knocked an alignment out. So he's not running as quick as he did yesterday. And I'm not surprised about that after the contact.
And it's allowed Kevin Bohm to pull out a substantial lead at this point. This is more to Kevin's liking. He really impressed last year's first year of pro racing. Tons of experience at the club level. Ran the SCCA runoffs here at this track, among other tracks. But a couple of years ago, the runoffs were here. And ran the runoffs here. But there's not a whole lot of lessons he could take from that to apply to this TCA car. It's just too different. And Amanda's got more on Kevin Bohm, last year's TCA champion.
Well, you talk about that lead. I think I've figured out the reason why. They actually went to the rear of the car and loosened it up. They were suffering with grip on the front end of the car. The team is hopeful that that will help them get all four tires glued to this track today and keep his lead above Eric Powell.
Well, that team has been tweaking on this car all weekend long. I talked to Kevin early in the weekend, and he was very new to the car. The DXDT racing team was as well. And there was some that they felt they could carry over from the TCA spec Civic. The back of the car in particular, very similar in its construction, identical in some cases, but the front suspension much different, he was telling me. And they were trying to figure out what tricks they learned with the TCA car they could apply to the TC car, and it's been trial and error, and it seems to be paying some dividends at the moment. Halfway through race 2 of the season, and he's running up at the very front of the class.
Yeah, Kevin's very methodical in how he approaches everything, taking the pure engineering look at the car, and he does it mostly himself with help from his wife Sharon. They spend a lot of time and are very methodical in building that car. Looks like the TCA battle now. Looks like Blanco dropped back to third.
He did, so that's Love now at the front. He's got Pombo giving chase, and for whatever reason on the last lap, Blanco has dropped back. That's your pole sitter. Second in F4 US last year. He's running just ahead of the two cars we're looking at right now. Caleb Bacon driving that Hyundai, and then the other Mini in the field, Clay Williams. And we've got a TCA spec Civic from the Skip Barber School team running right behind. That's Carter Fartuck.
It looks like PJ Gronke may be the one adding on the back there as well. Former champion in our series, so a good little 5-car battle.
That's right. He was the TCB champion in 2018, my first weekend working with the series, and I got to interview him. He gave me a hug. I had met him earlier that weekend, and he just wraps me in this bear hug. He was so happy, and that's all you need to know about PJ. Big move around the outside of the Fiebrus car of Blanco. Bacon now up a spot, and something just didn't look right with that Civic. That didn't seem like it was up to power.
Well, it almost looked like he may have made a big run on the inside of turn 11 and didn't get the exit he wanted, is what it looked like to me. Because the last time we saw him, the order was reversed.
This is the front of the field in TCA, and it is closing down. So here we go. The young gun from the NASCAR development program out in front. Yesterday's winner, Jesse Love, and the sports car, touring car veteran from the Racing Pombo family right behind and closing in. The rear of that Tech Sport Toyota just dancing around. Whoa, and Pombo goes wide at the exit of the carousel, keeps his foot in it, and really doesn't lose all that much ground.
Yeah, and talking to Jesse Love, he was thinking, because he's got the rear-wheel drive car, that his tires were going to hold up better than Pombo's. And he was shocked when Pombo showed up at the end there. And I think that's just, old-school racecraft. The guy who's been doing it a long time. He's been running these minis for almost 5 years now, so in various different racing. So Pombo is always someone to reckon with. There are rumors about him coming in a TC car for the next round.
Yeah, with a mini program in TC, that's what we're hearing. So we'll have to talk to Louis Pericarpi, who runs that team, the LAP Motorsports, involved with the mini program as well as the LA Honda World Cars. It's all run effectively under the same tent. Team based in Brownsburg, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. They had a couple good runs at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last year, and that meant a lot to Lewis and his team, many of whom are ex-open wheel engineers, mechanics, things like that. And many of them actually work at the Indy 500 every year, helping with some of the extra entries there. Back to the front of the field, and Jacob Rudd has pulled away to the tune of 3.2 seconds in the TCX category, and that's also the overall lead. Roy Block has dropped off some, but I have to say, we saw him yesterday really struggling with that BMW and being in the midst of the TC field, and today he's holding his own. Running third, yes, but has seemed to have taken a step forward in that car's performance.
Yeah, he has, and I was talking with him this morning as well, and he was talking about the transition from a front-wheel drive TCR car to this TCX BMW, and going back and forth is not an easy chore. He's adapted well, but he still feels like he's got some more learning to do. But there's a beautiful BMW right there, Roy Block, and he's going to have a very long season.
He is racing in several championships, including about a half dozen races in South America. He's from Corrientes, Argentina. And it's a cool opportunity for him to go back there. He's been racing Alfa Romeos a lot in recent years, so cool to see him in a BMW. Here we go, Eric Powell, currently still holding that second spot. Rob Hines just behind. This is a great run from Rob.
Yeah, it is. He's a long time. Looks like Joe Federo's in the pits in the 24 car.
And it's worth noting, this car, this 24 car, has had a few issues mechanically over the course of the weekend. So you don't want to speculate too much, but you have to wonder if that might have been the case again.
Yeah, hard to know what it is. I talked to Kevin Anderson, and he says there's just been a few different issues with the car. Not the same thing every time, but good look at the Souza Hyundai, who's running fourth right now, or fourth in TC. Great run for that Hyundai.
Yeah, it is, and it's good to see. That's the older spec of the two Velocitors, correct?
Yes, it is.
And we saw Jeff Rico with that car a couple of years ago. He had it around the paddock. Did they ever run it in 2019?
He ran it at COTA, and I think at VIR. He ran it, COTA and VIR. He ran it twice last year.
Here comes Hines trying to make a pass on the outside. Sorry to interrupt. We'll get back to that story in a moment. Rob Hines applying the pressure on Eric Powell. That car might not be 100% after contact at the very start of the race. If you're just joining us, we had a lengthy yellow following a fracas, I guess you could say, at the front of the TC field when the initial green flag flew, and Eric Powell was in the midst of that, and that car showing some battle scars as a consequence. Hines with a lunge up the inside, but not close enough to get the job done. Rob now back on the power through the S's, really applying the pressure. He's going to have a shot at this here in turn 11. Takes a peek to the inside, but falls back in line. Discretion the better part of valor, evidently. Oh, but running wide is Powell. He'll still have the preferred line here, so I think this is going to sort itself out to Powell's advantage, but that car just does not look all that happy under Eric. Yesterday's winner, by the way, in this class.
Yeah, and I do believe that Powell's got some sort of alignment issue. We noticed that last lap that Hines got a really good run on him through the carousel. And it's understeering big time right now, especially it looks like through the left-hand corners like the carousel.
Look at him pick up that right rear tire. That was cool to see. Always love watching these touring cars hop up over the curbs. The rear tires, they're there just to follow along, basically, in these front-wheel drive cars.
Yeah, Eric's trying hard to stay there, but I think it's just a matter of time. And, Hines is an old veteran. He's been running forever, and Souza's right there as well. I think it's just a matter of time before that Nissan gets him.
He might have a chance here. He's got to run out of the carousel. Looks like Powell's going to cover the inside, try and make Hines go the long way around. This is going to compromise the entry a bit for a car that's already understeering for Eric Powell. But he's able to make it work using that curb to try and get that car to rotate, overcome the understeer condition. Jumping to the front of the TCA field now. Jesse Love, Mark Pombo. And speaking of Pombo in that Mini, Amanda's got an update.
Yeah, we're looking at whether that Mini has a chance to get up to that Toyota, and I talked to the team representative here for the Mini team, and he just feels that Toyota is so much better at being able to protect their tires throughout the race. Even with that known, they're still going for it here with 11 minutes left in the race, so it'll be a battle to the very end, guys.
I saw Louis Pericarpi in the background, very passionate about his racing. He's the owner of this team.
And it really looks like we talked about Powell. Powell is holding up a bunch of cars, and he's going to make that battle for second, about 5 cars here shortly.
Well, you could tell how hard Mark is pushing in that car. He's run wide a couple of times while our cameras have been on him. And now we go back to this great fight here. Powell in second, Hines in third, Souza fourth in the TC division. All credit to Eric Powell. That does not look like a car that is comfortable to drive by any means. Lots of pressure, and yet he has not made the crucial mistake that lets Rob Hines through.
Yeah, no, he's driving a wounded car, but he's doing a decent job. I think it's going to, with 10 minutes to go, I still believe that the Nissan's going to get him. But the happiest guy about this that Eric is trying, look at that in the carousel, is just killing him, is Bohm. Bohm is just running away going, thank you, Eric, for fighting so hard.
Yeah, the lead is 7 seconds at this point. Here comes Hines again. Carbon copy of the last few laps through this part of the track. If Powell keeps doing that, doesn't seem like there's a whole lot that Hines can do. Is there any other either place on the track where you could make a move, Joe, or in that particular spot Can you feint left, come back right, something like
Well,
that?
you know, Powell knows that the best places to pass are 7-Eleven, so he's going to drive up the inside of those and make him go the long way, which is virtually impossible. It's really hard to pass here. Hines is going to have to pass him in an unusual spot because I don't think Powell will let him go in any normal area, so he's going to have to pass him in an unusual spot and gain momentum. I would say that I would try to do it between the carousel, just get a really good run exiting the carousel. It almost looks like Powell holds him up at the exit a little bit and then uses his power to get away. So maybe drop back a little bit and make a run through the carousel so you have so much momentum you can get by before the break comes in.
When you say holding him up, that's gamesmanship, right? That's not just an advantage one car to the other. You alter when you go back to power to throw the guy behind you off. If they can't anticipate when you're going to accelerate, it makes it hard for them to commit too.
Yeah, and you position the car in such a way that there's nothing the guy behind you can do.
Well, we've seen Eric, a master class of that. To this point in the race, down under 10 minutes remaining, it's Rudd over McCarthy and TCX. Bohm, a massive lead over these two here in the TC category, looking for his first TC win of the season. Love over Pombo by less than a second the last time by. Caleb Bacon leading Williams in the second mini, third and fourth in TCA. This is side by side. Sousa fighting with Austin Smith as it stands. Austin has been on a charge. He was involved in that issue at the start. Here comes Hines around the outside again. He's a little bit closer. Doesn't look like he can get the job done. However, Austin Smith, I think, has been able to slip past Michael Sousa. Indeed, he has. So he has passed Lindsey Brewer and Sousa in quick succession. And this Auto Technic BMW might be the one to watch right now.
Yeah, it really could be. He's had some good runs in the past in that car. And here goes Hines looking to the inside of Powell into 9.
Powell left the window open, but covers him off here. The way that chicane goes, it favored him on the exit. However, Hines quick back to throttle. Again, though, going to have to go the long way around. This is as close as he's been, though, on the entrance to turn 11. Can he be late on the brakes? He's going to try. Look at that car squirming around under him. Rob Hines to the inside and give him P2. Job done on the exit of turn 11. But Powell, not ready to concede it quite yet, takes a peek to the outside, trying to keep that momentum up for a lunge up the inside in turn 1, but I don't think he'll be close enough.
Yeah, I think the Nissan's gone now.
Sprinting away, now trying to put that head down. 7 minutes to try and reel in Kevin Bohm, who is 8 seconds up the road. It'll be a tall task to say the least. Let's go back to that move. What do you see?
I think it was actually set up way ahead of time, and this momentum from turn 10 is allowed, but that entry to 9A, 9B caused Powell to change his line a bit, not to get a good shot into 10, and Hines used all the momentum to just force the situation.
No respite here for Powell either, because interstage left, Austin Smith, he is right on the bumper, going to use that bumper. Rubbin's racing, right, Joe, in TC, and he gets right on by.
Yeah, that's what we love about touring car racing right there, in a nutshell, was that.
Don't know how much Eric appreciated it, but not much you can do. Bacon and Williams scrapping over the final podium position in TCA. Advantage Hyundai for the moment, but Clay Williams has been closing, has been applying pressure, and does not look like he'll be easily deterred. Still 6 minutes left.
Bouncing over the curbs also in touring car style. They use every bit of the road and sometimes more. Blanco's hanging close in fourth, so he's getting an education on how to preserve his tires.
Well, Bacon comes from a Spec Miata background, so he's used to close racing. He's from a motorsports family. His grandfather, Al, has 4 24 Hours of Daytona class wins racing Mazda RX-7s. And he'll need to channel some of that family experience here, because here comes Clay Williams to the inside in turn 7, gets the job done, and put the Mini up 1 spot, ran a bit wide, but able to recover. Nothing Bacon can do at this point except look in the mirror and see Jose Blanco, who has fallen off, but now seems to have fallen into a bit of a rhythm. Here, though, look at the Hyundai. Strong on the power, and that's going to force Williams to be very defensive here into the chicane.
bunch of high school kids there, too. I think they're all junior, senior, and high school, those three.
Do you get a letter on your Letterman jacket for racing and pro racing while you're in high school?
Maybe
you ought
so.
to. So we saw using the grass there as part of the racetrack. I wonder what the stewards are going to think of that. Here comes Blanco. And just behind Jose Blanco, one of the Skip Barber Racing cars.
That's Carter Fartuk. Carter Fartuk in the first one. He has some history in Celine Racing and some other stuff as well, but he's an instructor at Skip Barber.
Well, apologies to the Bohm family, Kevin and Sharon. We haven't talked about you a whole lot because, Kevin, you're stinking up the show. Running away from this field at the moment in TC. Currently also in the 4th overall position. And off to a brilliant start. Had a 3rd yesterday, looking at a win perhaps here today if he can keep it pointed the right way for 4 more minutes. That would be a great way to get the season started. He had, admittedly, a bit of a slow start to the year last year, but hit his stride at the midpoint of the season and reeled off this incredible string of podiums and wins. Capped it off ultimately with a championship in TCA, and appears to be a pretty quick study here in TC Racing. Austin Smith has got around Eric Powell, as we saw, and now is trying to find Rob Hines, who, by the way, has cut into the deficit to Bohm a little bit. 6.8 seconds now, the gap, although now it's expanded yet again. So, sorry, that was actually 6.8 from Bohm to Block. My apologies. Hines to Bohm is 9.6. Austin Smith now just over a second and a half behind Hines in the battle for second in TC. And now Powell still trying to fight off Sousa. You were telling the story about Gin Racer earlier, and they put a lot of work into developing these cars. This is Jeff Rica's passion project, working with Hyundai and creating Hyundai race cars. They've run in other divisions before, and this TC car is looking like it's got a lot of promise at this point.
Yeah, it does, and this was the first car that he built, and he ran it a couple times last year. Oh, inside. Looks like they touch, but looks like Sousa may go the long way around going into the hairpin.
Now we know that would be Eric Powell's preference. He's been forcing his competition out there as much as possible, and for now, it's going to get the job done. All credit to Eric Powell, who has fought a valiant rearguard action with what appears to be a compromised race car after contact early in this race. He's lost some spots here in the last few laps, but I think he deserves all the kudos in the world for just how vigorous his defense has been, and clean for that matter. Sousa back on the attack, really all over those curves in the chicane, right at the bumper. And this is where Civic's been a little bit vulnerable here in the last few laps. Sousa doesn't feel comfortable enough, though, to outbrake Powell, at least not this time. They use the bumper. Pushes Powell wide, but he's able to recover. Great car control.
And that's just touring car racing. You know, you don't want to lift to not have the contact. So Sousa just bumped him a little bit. No harm, no foul. Let's go to the next corner and see what happens.
I think we're down to just 2 laps remaining. I believe the overall leader crossed the line with enough time on the clock that we'll have to go around 2 more times, which is not what Eric Powell wanted to hear. Michael Sousa, by contrast, is probably thrilled that he gets 2 more chances. 1.5, I suppose, at this point. Don't forget, lurking there is Lindsay Brewer. We talked about her yesterday. Done some karting, but not a lot of experience in cars, Fender cars in particular, and has fit in very nicely, it has to be said. Worked her way up very steadily throughout the weekend. If you looked at the timesheets early on, wasn't much to write home about, but she's been right there in that 4th to 9th range for much of the day, as PJ Gronke is battling for position. Or is that actually, no, I'm sorry, that is the overall leader coming through to lap the TCA car, PJ Gronke, who's running 7th at the moment in TCA. Great to have him back with us. I know the travel issues coming from Canada were a real struggle for him a year ago, and it pained him not to be here for several races. but one of the more affable characters you'll ever meet. Kevin Bohm coming to either the white or checkered flag where graphics says final lap. So let's be prepared just in case. Kevin Bohm. Oh, the overall leader has come through. Got it. Yep. So he will take the white flag here. That makes more sense. Kevin Bohm leading, though, in TC at the moment. Rob Hines giving chase, running second. Bohm working his way through Roy Block, who has fallen off the pace a little bit in recent laps. That's third in the TCX category, and that's actually now a swap of the third overall position. So for the second straight day, you could put a TC class car on the overall podium. Yesterday was Eric Powell. Today it appears to be Kevin Bohm, at least as it runs. It was Mario Biundo that they passed in the LA Honda World Civic there. Great looking livery on that CrowdStrike car. Here is your overall leader, Jacob Rudd. And if he can lap these two, that means they will not get another lap to battle themselves. So that is not what Caleb Bacon wants right there. Rudd is going to make that pass, and I think, we'll see if he can get by Williams or not. That's kind of secondary at the moment. For the moment, though, let's focus on Rudd flashing those lights and winning for the second straight day the TCX category in the TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School Championship. Great start to the season for Jacob and Classic BMW. Tommy McCarthy crosses the line 12 seconds back in second. A lot of smoke out of Caleb Bacon's car. So they've received the checker flag. Third on back now, final in TCA, after the overall leader went through that fight. And here we focus our attention on Kevin Bohm. Made the step from TCA to TC and has taken to it with aplomb. Kevin Bohm around turn number 12, looking for his first checkered flag of 2021. And he is a TC America TC class race winner. Roy Block crosses the line to complete his run, third in TCX, finishes in the fourth overall spot. Rob Hines comes home in fifth. Still a few more positions yet to be determined. Toby Grahovic and Steve Strymer, these two have been tied together ever since that first lap incident. It's been a decent comeback drive, not quite to the extent they were hoping for, I am sure. They will finish line astern in the TC category. That was seventh and eighth. Grahovic 7th, Strymer 8th in the final analysis. And finally, for the second straight day, heck of a sports car racing debut for this youngster, Jesse Love. What a future he has ahead of him. 2 races in TCA, 2 race wins for Tech Sport Racing. Jesse Love sweeps the weekend at Sonoma.
He's a local boy, too, 16 years old.
Amazing.
Back-to-back wins for Jesse Love.
Well, exciting weekend of touring car racing here at Sonoma. This track really does suit these cars well.
It does. A lot of action. You know, I wish the start wasn't as rough as it was, but there's some good action there throughout. Fun to watch Powell try to hold off and to damage cars, as many cars as he could. It looks like he was able to hold off Souza there from fourth, so good action.
It was indeed. Here are the unofficial results for race 2 of the weekend and of the season. Jacob Rudd, your race winner. Tommy McCarthy in second. Kevin Bohm up on the overall podium and the winner in the TC class, followed by Roy Block, Rob Hines, Austin Smith, Eric Powell, Michael Sousa. What a fight that was down to the wire. Lindsey Brewer, a great way to end the weekend for her. I think she'll be very pleased. Toby Grahovic and Steve Strymer, not the day they were hoping for. It all went wrong early. Then Jesse Love, your TCA winner, followed by Mark Pombo and Clay Williams. Now to the second page of results. Still a lot of learning to do, I think it's safe to say, for the open wheel exile, Jose Blanco, but a lot of promise. He's fast, we've seen that proven, and he's got a great team around him. Really excited to see what he and the rest of the BGMC team can do over the course of the season. So 80 minutes of racing, Joe, and we are left with a lot of highlights. Here is your CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race. Jacob Rudd, not only the pole in both races, not only the win, but also CrowdStrike fastest lap both days. That is a clean sweep for him. He'll be very happy indeed. A 1:59.989, the lap time. His best, and anyone's best, I should say, here today. We'll be hearing from him shortly, but quickly, your thoughts on 2 days of TC racing action.
Some interesting developments. The Honda and TC is looking really strong, winning both days. We talked about Rudd in the BMW as well. Jesse Love really showing his way in that Toyota in TCA. But some good action. I look forward to the next round at COTA. A little bit of a different track, longer straightaways, a little bit of a different pavement. I expect to see maybe some different results.
Well, we'll look forward to that, the second round of the championship. But first, let's wrap up the first weekend of TC racing, and Amanda is down with our overall winner.
And Ryan, it was back-to-back wins for Jacob Rudd here this weekend with significant gap between 1 and 2. What have you figured out about this BMW?
Oh, the guys at Classic BMW put together a great car for me this weekend. We've got it dialed down on tire wear. I think that's the key for these cars going forward, is managing tire wear through the 40-minute race. And I think we've got a good car for that now and races to come.
Congratulations on such a successful weekend here in
Thank
Sonoma.
you very much.
Successful indeed. Hard to find any blight on the record. I mean, it was as picture perfect as you could hope for, not just for Jacob, but the whole Classic team, at least on the TCX side. And I suppose for Toby, who oversees this race team, his race didn't go all that well, but at the end of the day, he has to be pretty pleased with the way his team performed.
Yeah, and for a weekend he finished 2nd and 7th, so he's still going to be near the top of TC personally points race, so I think he'll be okay with it. He's always really good about just wanting the team to do well.
And by and large, they do. It's a very accomplished team. They've been around for a long time, and hard to find any qualms with anything that happened from a team perspective here this weekend in this class. Looks like Amanda is standing by with our TC winner and an overall podium finisher, Kevin Bohm.
Oh, and look to this, right in his first weekend from making the leap from TCA up into the TC competition. I have to tell you, I was standing by your team when you won. The Operation Motorsport guys were in tears. Where have you been able to find success here this weekend?
I don't know. I mean, it really is down to teamwork. They were a key part of it. I mean, when we got here, the car wasn't really in great shape. The car was great, but it just wasn't really suited for this track. And every time we went out there, we kind of put our heads together and we came up with a plan, and we just kept inching away at it. And I think the final race here is a perfect example of just not giving up and working together as a team, and that's how you eventually can get the results. So I'm definitely surprised that it came that quick. I didn't expect that race at all, but the car just felt amazing for the whole time.
I just talked to your wife off camera and asked her thoughts. She said she was surprised as well. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
Quite a team Kevin and Sharon make. They've been a great addition to the paddock. You heard Amanda reference Operation Motorsport, and it's a great partnership with DXDT Racing. Operation Motorsport, they take military veterans and find ways to integrate them into motorsports. And for many, especially if there's any PTSD or anything like that, trying to be reacclimated to civilian life, this provides an outlet, and it's been a very successful program for a number of years, and great to see that incorporated in this effort in TC from the DXDT Racing team. One more winner to talk to here from TC America this weekend, and Amanda has found Jesse Love.
Well, you think of all the manufacturers that are competing here in SRO America. Toyota is one of those, and the TRD program advances drivers in their development. Jesse Love coming in here to the an inaugural weekend for you. What have you learned about road course racing?
I've learned a lot. Road racing is kind of its own beast in a sense, and obviously these cars are way different than our, ARCA and our NASCAR cars, but a lot of the same techniques are carried over, and it's really a momentum car. So it was good to kind of be able to drive a different car and learn, new techniques. And obviously laps around Sonoma are invaluable for, when I come here in the Cup Series or the ARCA race later this year, my number 16 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Camry. So really going to be a really good race, and it's been good to get 2 of them this weekend.
Ryan, I'm sure you have his stat list in front of you. This guy has quite a resume already, just building it here in SRO America.
Oh my goodness, you're right. He's done so much racing on circle tracks, dirt, and pavement, but mixing it into the road racing. And I know, Joe, you heard him talk about the momentum cars, and that brings a smile to your face. What a race it was. Not a great start, unfortunately, here. Eric Powell, very aggressive up the middle, a 3-wide moment. Did not end well at the front of the field. More contact here on the opening lap as they came up the hill. Tom Capizzi, one of the victims there. His race ended right then, right there. Michael Sousa fighting with Lindsey Brewer. Here comes Rob Hines. This is the pass of Eric Powell. This was for second in TC at the time. That's where Rob Hines would finish. A great run for him. Had a 4th yesterday. A podium here today. More aggressive driving. Austin Smith using the bumper, getting to the back of Powell, able to get one more position. He's up on the podium. And here in the TCA class, Bacon and Williams fighting it out in 7 and 7A. Good fighting up and down this field in all 3 classes. But it's Jacob Rudd who takes the win here at Sonoma Raceway, sweeping the debut of the TCX class. Kevin Boehm also picking up a win along with Jesse Love.